Hey everyone, welcome to All Techies. I'm Pankaj Rai, and in today's video I'm going to talk about how can you get started with Firebase. Well, Firebase is an app development platform that helps you build and grow apps that your users love. Well, the best part is that most of the services offered by Firebase are either free or free to get started. That means you need not have to register your credit card or payment method. If you have Gmail account, you can get started with Firebase. Now today we'll see if we have to add any of the services offered by Firebase to our Android app. How can we do that? Well, for that, first let's switch to the Firebase console. The moment you type firebase.google.com or just do a Google search for Firebase, you will end up on this page. So on the top right corner, you can see Go to Console. Just tap on this. Once you tap here, it takes you to the Firebase console, and that's the place where you can create project. If you have already created project, then you will see your projects listed here itself. So for now, let's create a project named demo, and let me accept the term and click on continue. Well, this is an added service which if you want, you can enable it or disable for your project, but I would strongly recommend that do not disable Google Analytics for your Firebase project, because Analytics is one such service which provides you insight about your app or the website. Okay, now let's continue this. So Analytics location, you can select whichever country you are interested in. So let me select India here. Now if you see this question mark, so for anything for which you have a doubt that why do I need to select this particular thing or fill this place with some content, you can just hover over the question mark and you will see the relevant hint. Like for example, say if you don't know about why you're selecting this Analytics location, just hover over the question mark and you see this information that this represents the country or region of your organization. This does not affect where Google may process and store customer data for Firebase. Well, the message is straightforward and clear. This is just to indicate that where your organization is, nothing beyond that. Now let me click on accept Google Analytics term and click on create project. So at this stage, we are just creating project on Firebase. So here it is. Now we have created a project called demo. We got various options for iOS, Android, Web, Unity or Flutter. We can get started with any of this. Say if I'm interested to add my Android app to this project, then I can click on Android. It asks me for certain details like the package name, app nickname. So let me switch to my Android project. From here, I need to switch to build.gradle and get this application ID. So let me copy this and paste it here for Android package name. Nickname is helpful to identify what is this app all about. So let me say this as remote config demo. Now SHA-1 is optional. This is really helpful if you want to add Firebase authentication to your app. But so far we are not going to add this, so let me click on register app. Well, one more thing is that even if I'm not adding SHA-1 right now, but later on, if I need to add say Firebase authentication service to my Android app, I can add the SHA key after this too. So far I just gave the package name, app nickname, and click on register app. Once this is done, the second part is to download the config file. So let's download the Google service.json. And now let's paste this to our app directory. So here I have switched to project. From here I've clicked on app, and now I'm going to paste the Google service.json. That's it. Now we are good to go. Click on next. As we have added the JSON file, the next step is to add the dependencies and the class path. So the sample which you are seeing here right now is based on the legacy Gradle. But if you see this, then here the structure looks a bit different as compared to what you see here with build script, repository, dependencies, then class path. So how can I add this class path to this Gradle structure where I can directly provide the plugin? So for that, let's copy this com.google.gms.google service. So we'll say id com.google.gms Google service. Then we'll say version is 4.3.13, so 4.3.13, and then we'll say apply false. Now after this we also need to add the plugin, so let me copy this once again and switch to build.gradle, here id, and paste this. Okay, second thing is let's add Firebase BOM, and this is quite helpful where after this you need not have to specify the version for the subsequent dependencies which you are adding. Say for example here I'm adding Firebase Analytics, but one strange thing which you'll see is that unlike all other dependencies which have versions defined, here I'm not defining any version. That's because of Firebase BOM. One added advantage that you get with this is if you add more than one Firebase service, then it automatically figure out that what is the best version available so that all of them can work together, so they'll not have any dependencies issues. Okay, now let's sync this. Once it syncs, we are good to go. But here I want to add remote config service. Well, so far what we did is we have added Firebase Analytics dependency, where the best part is that without writing even a single line of code, now the moment you run this app, you get basic analytical details for your app on Firebase. That's like on which screen user is spending more time, what's the average spend time, the countries through which you are getting more traffic, all sort of information you get by default just by adding this library. Now as I'm talking about remote config, so let's see how can we add remote config. So let me click continue for this, and let's go to build and check out if we have remote config here. Well, clicking on remote config will take me to the remote config screen. Now here we have an option to go to docs. Let me click on go to docs so that I can get this information that what is the dependency that I need to add remote config to my Android app. So here I need to search for remote config. Let me check out where we have remote config. Okay, here it is. And let's click on Android setup. So the moment you enter to this page, you will see the dependencies that you can add. Here you can see this Firebase config, and once again you can see that we are not specifying the version of this. Again, that's because of the Firebase bomb. So let's copy this and add it here. Once this is done, we are good to go now. So let's click on sync now, and that's it. So in this Android app, now I can use remote config service. To cross check, let's try to add this remote config object here. So we'll say val remote config, and you can see that the instance that you need is Firebase remote config dot get instance. So we'll say Firebase remote config dot get instance, and this says that I do have added the remote config SDK. Well, that's it for today's video. It was all about how can you get started with Firebase. Now we'll continue this, and in the next video I'm going to talk about how can you add remote config service, and I'll also talk about the personalization feature of remote config. So for that, stay tuned, and if you haven't subscribed this channel, then please do subscribe this.